Episode 21, Sarutobi Hiruzen is going to feel bad again. You won, Mr. Lee Yue. Thinking of this, Orochimaru spoke in a moment of silence, admitting his defeat. Master Orochimaru lost? How can it be? That Uchiha genius from 8 years ago, is he really that powerful? Even Master Orochimaru is no match for him? The ninjas watching around were shocked. Orochimaru is one of the Sannin. He once fought against Hanzo of the Salamander, who holds the title of demigod, and is one of Konoha's top powerhouses. But now, he lost to someone else. Master Orochimaru lost? Namikaze Minato also found it incredible. Master Lee Yue is too powerful, his strength is still higher than that of Sannin. Kusina looked adoring. If she can have this kind of strength, can she realize her dream and become Hokage? When everyone was amazed, Lee Yue on the field also stopped and laughed. I thought you would continue to compete. Tilda. If you lose, you lose. There is nothing to say. Orochimaru turned Kaido with a calm face, then turned and left. Let's stop here this time. If there is still a chance, let's fight against you again. After speaking, he left instantly. Although he admitted that he lost, he didn't like being surrounded by people. And his task has been completed, and he should report to the teacher. Certainly. He has already made up his mind that this is the last time, and he will never do such boring things again. As Orochimaru left, Lee Yue also put away her long sword and walked up to Tsunade and Hitaki Sakumo. Let's go too. His purpose has been achieved. Now that so many people saw that they had defeated Orochimaru, it was no surprise that the news would soon spread throughout Konoha, and it would surely shock some ghosts and monsters by then. The two nodded and followed Lee Yue, preparing to leave. But before making any progress, the two found that Lee Yue had stopped and turned his head to the side. What's wrong? Tsunade followed his gaze, and then saw a blonde boy and a red-haired girl. You know those two brats? Do not know. Lee Yue shook her head, but there was a mysterious smile on the corner of her mouth. If he is not mistaken, those two children should be 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato and Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Kusina. And judging by the age of the two, it is obvious that they have not yet graduated. Since I didn't graduate, then there is a lot of room for manipulation. Think of this, put away the thought, and leave. After Lee Yue and the others left, the people who saw that there was no good show to watch also slowly dispersed. But just as Lee Yue thought, the news of Orochimaru's defeat to Lee Yue instantly spread throughout Konoha. Let everyone know that the Uchiha genius from 8 years ago is back and stronger than he was 8 years ago. Orochimaru also lost? After hearing the news, Sarutobi Hiruzen stood in front of the window with a sinking face. He didn't expect Lee Yue to be so strong. Even cage-level powerhouses can be defeated easily. And according to Orochimaru, Lee Yue has also mastered a bunch of ninjutsu that has never been seen before. Why does this kind of genius only appear in the Uchiha clan, not the Sarutobi clan? Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little jealous. Konoha has been established for more than 30 years, and a lot of talented ninjas have emerged in Uchiha. On the other hand, the Sarutobi clan are all mediocre. Even being expected to be the eldest son of the next Hokage, he can't bear the big responsibility. This makes him both envious and jealous of Uchiha. And after this incident, Orochimaru is also dissatisfied with me. Recalling Orochimaru's attitude when he reported the task, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face suddenly became gloomy. Jiraiya is now in the land of rain. Tsunade is also obsessed with himself because of the Senju clan. Orochimaru, who was left, was dissatisfied with himself again. For a while, the high-end power he could mobilize seemed to be very little. The incident caused by Shinsuke must be calmed down as soon as possible. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes flickered. He knew he couldn't go on like this, otherwise he would become more and more passive. Uchiha clan land. After the competition, Lee Yue returned to the family, but Tsunade and Hitaki Sakumo didn't come because they had other things to do. Big brother, big brother. Lee Yue just took off her shoes and walked into the inner room when she heard her brother's voice. I saw Uchiha Fugaku running, the calmness of the past disappeared, and his face was full of excitement. Brother, I heard that you competed with Orochimaru and defeated Orochimaru? Yes, what's the matter? Lee Yue nodded. What's wrong, brother, aren't you happy? That's Orochimaru, one of the Sannin. Uchiha Fugaku said excitedly. It's just Orochimaru, it's not like he hasn't been defeated before. Lee Yue waved her hand. As expected of a big brother. Hearing this, Uchiha Fugaku's eyes flashed with admiration, and he thought secretly in his heart. Orochimaru, who defeated one of the Sannin, can still maintain such calmness. I am afraid that there is only one big brother. Single quote. Fugaku. Ah? What's the matter, brother? Uchiha Fugaku woke up with a start. The oldest student in the ninja school, probably hasn't graduated yet? Lee Yue asked. Uchiha Fugaku was stunned for a moment, not understanding why his elder brother asked this, but Kaido was honest. I haven't graduated yet, the graduation assessment should be in 3 days. Yeah? A smile appeared on Lee Yue's face, and then instructed, you get the list of graduates of this year, I want it now. I see. Although he didn't know what his elder brother wanted the list for, he ran out without asking any further questions. Seeing her younger brother leave, Lee Yue also went into the room to wait. About 15 minutes later, Uchiha Fugaku ran back out of breath, holding a form in his hand. Brother, this is the list of graduates this year. As he spoke, he handed over the form. After taking it, Lee Yue took a closer look, and then saw 2 familiar names. Brother, what do you want this list for? Uchiha Fugaku finally couldn't bear it anymore. Of course it works. Lee Yue didn't explain too much, but instead asked, Fugaku, I should be able to be a mentor for ninja school graduates? Well? Uchiha Fugaku was taken aback for a moment. He didn't expect his elder brother to ask such a question, but he nodded. Of course, elder brother, you are a jonin, and the village has regulations. As long as you become a jonin, you are eligible to be a mentor for graduates. That's good. Lee Yue laughed out. Big brother, don't you want to be a mentor? Uchiha Fugaku asked with a look of surprise. That's right. Lee Yue nodded, looked at the names on the list, and smiled mysteriously. There are 2 good seedlings in this class. If they can be recruited, Sarutobi Hiruzen will be so distressed. Episode 22, Sarutobi Hiruzen laughs. Early the next morning, Lee Yue, who was supposed to handle affairs at home, came to the Hokage administration building instead. After meeting Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kasina yesterday, he had an idea. That is to take 2 people as apprentices before they graduate. As for whether Sarutobi Hiruzen will agree, he has his own way. Came to the office, knocked on the door, and walked in. Third Hokage, who was dealing with official business, saw a flash of surprise in his eyes when he saw it was Lee Yue, but soon put on a gentle look. Lee Yue, what's the matter here so early? There is indeed something. Lee Yue nodded and explained his idea of being a mentor. Oh? Sarutobi Hiruzen was surprised after hearing this, never dreaming that Lee Yue would want to be a mentor. He couldn't figure out what Lee Yue was thinking, so he could only say it with a smile. This is a good thing. The village is short of an excellent mentor like you. Tell me, who do you like? Master 3rd generation, I want to take Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kasina as disciples. Lee Yue smiled. Kaido. Minato and Kasina? Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression changed when he heard these 2 names, and then subconsciously dismissed it. No, not Kasina. He is still very familiar with these 2 people. Namikaze Minato is a genius ninja born in the common people, and also the chief student of this class of graduates. And Uzumaki Kasina is Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. In order to hold the power of Jinchuriki in his own hands, he didn't even tell his 3 disciples, so how could he hand it over to Lee Yue? Master 3rd generation, I know why you refused, and I also know the true identity of Uzumaki Kasina. Lee Yue knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen would refuse, so she had already prepared her speech. What? Startled, 3rd Hokage looked at Lee Yue sharply. I heard that when the Uzumaki clan perished, the village brought back an Uzumaki orphan. After this orphan arrived in Konoha, Master Mito, who was Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, died of illness. Lee Yue said lightly, but Sarutobi Hiruzen interrupted before she finished speaking. Enough. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face sank like water. He didn't expect that what he did in such a secret way would be discovered by others, and the person who discovered it was Lee Yue. Master 3rd generation, I accept Kasina as a disciple, just for the sake of the family, and hope to form a good relationship with the family through the relationship between master and apprentice. Lee Yue said with a smile. Since you know Kasina's identity, you must also understand the importance of Kasina to the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Lee Yue, not believing Lee Yue's nonsense. Naturally. But didn't I say that I don't have any other ideas about Jinchuriki, I just want to make a good relationship. And I only teach them for 1 year. After 1 year, I will let them participate in the Chunin assessment. At that time, Lord 3rd generation can let them join any Chunin team. Lee Yue chuckled lightly. Oh? Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect Lee Yue to say that. Although this world pays attention to the relationship between master and apprentice, there are also differences in the depth of the relationship between master and apprentice. If it is only 1 year, it is indeed impossible to create a deep relationship. Of course, having said that, he still wouldn't agree to what he should not agree to. Lee Yue is his enemy after all. Seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen was unmoved, Lee Yue was already prepared. As long as my lord agrees, I can ask Uchiha to forgive Sarutobi Shinosuke for what he did, and let Sarutobi Shinosuke get out of prison. Lee Yue's eyes flashed. What? Sarutobi Hiruzen was startled, and immediately thought about it. If the Uchiha clan can really take the initiative to forgive Shinosuke for what he did, then he can minimize the impact of this matter. After all, the parties have forgiven, so what can others say? It can not only eliminate the influence of the previous incident, but also not be afraid that Lee Yue and Kasina will create a deep mentor-student relationship. No matter how you look at it, it is beneficial to him. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen came back to his senses, and smiled gently at Lee Yue. Minato and Kasina are excellent students in the school. Originally, I wanted to hand them over to the other Jonin, but since you insist, I'll leave it to you. Then I would like to thank Lord Third Generation. Lee Yue showed a bright smile. This wave seems to be a loss for him, but in fact he is not a loss at all. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen is an old fox. Even if Uchiha doesn't forgive Sarutobi Shinosuke's behavior, Sarutobi Hiruzen will find a chance to release the eldest son. It's just a matter of time. But the meaning of taking Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kasina as apprentices is different. Not to mention Kasina. Just say Namikaze Minato, that's the future fourth Hokage. With the other party's character of emphasizing love and righteousness, as long as you accept the other party as an apprentice, it is tantamount to tying the other party to the chariot of the Uchiha clan. Losing Minato's Sarutobi Hiruzen can be said to have cut both arms. But unfortunately, Sarutobi Hiruzen is not a time traveler and does not know the future development of Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato, who has not yet graduated, is treated as an ordinary genius, although he is favored by Sarutobi Hiruzen. After all, many geniuses graduate from ninja school every year, and countless geniuses die on the way. How would Sarutobi Hiruzen know that Minato would grow to that point? Thinking of this, Lee Yue looked at Third Hokage. If my lord has nothing else to do, then I will take my leave. Seeing Lee Yue's full smile, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little bit in his heart, feeling like he was being fooled. But no matter how you think about it, Lee Yue is at a disadvantage. After all, Lee Yue only taught Kasina for 1 year. A year later, he was able to regain control of Kasina, and Uchiha would at best have a good relationship. As for Namikaze Minato, he doesn't think Lee Yue's target is Minato. After all, if you want to talk about genius, which family's genius can compare with Uchiha's? Uchiha has a lot of geniuses in his own family, so how can he spend so much effort to compete for a commoner genius? He couldn't figure it out, so he could only suppress his doubts, and then signaled Lee Yue to leave. Episode 23, My Disciple Namikaze Minato. 2 days later, the sun shone through the clouds over the village, and the residents opened their doors one after another to welcome the new day. At the same time, the new graduates of ninja school also ushered in the time to divide into classes. From now on, we're a genin. I have to train hard to be a jonin like my father. The meeting will be divided into classes. I hope to have a good relationship with myself in the first team, and I hope to meet a good teacher. In the classroom, Genin, who passed the graduation exam, sat on the seat. Perhaps it was because of the excitement that the whole classroom was as noisy as a vegetable market. I don't know who my teacher and teammates are? In the middle of the third row, a girl with long red hair and an extremely delicate appearance was holding her chin with her hands, imagining her own path as a ninja. When thinking about her teammates, she turned to look at a blonde boy on the left. The blonde boy sat there quietly, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and his handsome face was as bright as the sun. But, in the eyes of the red-haired girl, this posture is like a girl, without any masculinity. The blonde boy seemed to feel that someone was watching him, turned his head to look, and showed a gentle smile. Snort. Seeing this, the red-haired girl snorted coldly, turned her head away, and secretly thought, it doesn't matter who the teammate is, as long as it's not this annoying guy. Well, the blonde boy, or Namikaze Minato, couldn't help scratching his cheek when he saw Kasina, who turned his head away, feeling a little embarrassed. However, he was also an open-minded person, so he didn't take this matter to heart, and continued to sit in his seat, waiting for the start of class division. After a while, head teacher Shimoto Guangxi walked in, still holding a stack of forms in his hand. Everyone be quiet. Standing on the podium, Ishimoto Mitsuki shook the form in his hand and said with a smile. First of all, I would like to congratulate everyone for passing the assessment. From today onwards, you will be ninjas on your own. This time, everyone is asked to come to the classroom to divide into teams. Next, you will be divided into several teams to perform tasks alongside Jonin. I have printed out the class placement form, you can take a look. After getting the form, everyone wait here quietly, the instructor will come over in a while, and you will officially embark on the path of Jonin. After the words fell, there was a burst of exclamation in the class, and everyone's face was full of excitement. Ishimoto Mitsuki has taught many classes of students, and he is not surprised by the excitement of the students. After calling a few classmates, he distributed the class list to everyone. After the class schedule was issued, there was another exclamation in the classroom. And Kusina looked at the form in disbelief, wondering if she had read it wrong. Because on the class schedule, there are 3 names written impressively. These 3 names are Uzumaki Kusina, Namikaze Minato, Hitaki Yuki. Kusina's delicate and lovely face collapsed in an instant. She wiped her eyes and looked at the schedule. But no matter how you look at it, it is not an illusion. Hitaki Yuki? That idiot from the Hitaki clan? Of course, this is nothing. She has no opinion on the idiot, let alone any malice. What really makes her unacceptable is, why did I play with Namikaze Minato? She doesn't have a good impression of Minato. Years of seeing her being bullied and not helping, boasting that she wants to be Hokage, looking like a girl, doesn't seem reliable at all. She disagrees with this kind of person. Thinking of this, Kusina stood up, slapped the table, and shouted, Mr. Guangxi, why am I on the team with this guy? While talking, he pointed to Namikaze Minato. Aha! Namikaze Minato was embarrassed when he saw Kusina pointing at him. This is divided into classes according to the ability of the students, and the 3 of you are very lucky to have a very powerful ninja as your teacher. Ishimoto Mitsuki smiled. But Kusina looked confused. Okay, everyone basically knows the class division, so wait here patiently, your guide Jonin will be here soon. Ishimoto Mitsuki ignored Kusina's entanglement, pressed his hand, and after finishing speaking, he turned and left. Seeing the head teacher leave, the classroom became chaotic again. However, the students didn't make any noise for long before they saw the classroom door being pushed open. I saw a Jonin from the Sarutobi clan striding forward, looked around and smiled. First class, Aburame Akishi, Inazuka Teru, Hyuga Sayazumi, come with me. It's our instructor. The 3 cheered endlessly after hearing this, and hurriedly followed. Is he Aburame's teacher? I don't know who our teacher is and when he will come. The other students were looking forward to seeing it. In various discussions, other instructors also appeared one after another, taking away a student. Second class, Akamichi Yoshimaru, Yamagami Uita. The third class, Takayuki Kashima. The fourth Madara. Dozens of students left one after another, and finally only the 3 of Kusina remained in the classroom. It's our turn next, right? Kusina looked at the door expectantly, as if she would see her instructor in the next second. On the side, Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki also showed curiosity, wanting to know who the powerful ninja Mr. Mitsuki said was. Under the eyes of hope, the 3 waited quietly. It's a pity that I waited until noon, but the instructor did not appear. What the hell? Why hasn't our instructor come yet? It's been several hours. Kusina stood up uncontrollably and said with a dissatisfied face. That. Seeing this, Minato hesitated for a moment, but still said, maybe the teacher did this on purpose. I heard that every student will go through a test after graduation, and only those who pass the test can become real genin. The absence of the teacher may be a test for the 3 of us. After all, patience is a course that all ninjas must master. Well? Kusina and Hitaki Yuki exchanged glances. Listening to Minato's explanation, it seems to make sense. Could it be that the teacher didn't show up all the time, really to test them? Kusina, who believed somewhat, couldn't help clenching his fists. The dissatisfaction in his heart dissipated, and at the same time he gave himself a boost. Since it is a test, then she will never lose to anyone. Thinking of this, she straightened her back and sat upright like a good student. Pity. The sun went down, and the sky was filled with sunset clouds, but Li Yue still didn't appear. And the 3 of them are like fools, waiting in the classroom for a whole day. Episode 24, My Disciple Kukunai. Uchiha Clan Land. Li Yue woke up from her sleep. Because he just took over the position of patriarch, so many things have to be handed over. He has been dealing with family affairs at home for the past 2 days, and he was even more busy yesterday until 5 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, everything is busy. Is it evening? Li Yue looked at the sunset outside the window, and then remembered something. Today seems to be the day when the ninja school graduates are divided into classes. After speaking, he knew he was late. But after seeing the sunset glow in the sky, he shook his head again. Forget it, I'm late for a whole day anyway, so I'm not in a hurry. After saying that, he got up to wash up, and then ate something before walking leisurely towards the ninja school. Ninja school. The light of the sunset is reflected in the spacious classroom, and Kusina's flushed face. Is this really the instructor's test? Kusina gritted her teeth and said, looking fiercely at Minato, with red hair flying around. 10 hours. From 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., they waited for 10 hours without even eating lunch, but they still didn't wait for Li Yue. So she doubts. This is not a test at all. It's purely that the B****** D teacher forgot about it. It should be? Namikaze Minato, who felt the mad killing intent, straightened the joystick, and the cold sweat continued to slip. In fact, he also had some doubts, whether he had guessed wrong. The so-called test is simply to make up your own brain, but the real situation is to guide Jonan to forget about it. Certainly. He dare not admit it now. Once you admit it, you will definitely be beaten to death by the furious Cassina. No matter who the teacher is, I will never forgive easily. Cassina punched down, and the powerful force made the table tremble. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki shrank their heads, not daring to speak out at all. However, at this moment, the sound of sounds of nature sounded. With a creaking sound, the closed classroom door was pushed open, and a slender figure walked in. Yo? Li Yue saw the three of them at a glance, but unexpectedly they were still waiting here, and then greeted them with smiles as if they were not late. Morning, you are the students of Class 7, right? I am your guide Jonan, Uchiha Li Yue. After these words fell, the atmosphere fell into an eerie silence. Namikaze Minato and Kukina looked at the young man in front of them with astonishment. I didn't expect that my mentor would be Li Yue. Master Li Yue, are you our mentor? Kukina opened her mouth wide, looking surprised. Of course. Li Yue smiled and nodded. After getting the answer, Cassina instantly forgot to be angry, and was inexplicably happy. But this joy didn't last long before he remembered something, then pouted and looked at Li Yue angrily. Teacher, do you know what time it is now? Although Li Yue is very handsome and powerful, I am very happy to have such a teacher. But that's not an excuse for being late, is it? Even though he was 10 hours late and the sun was almost setting, he still told them morning without any guilt. May I ask where it is early now? If you come half an hour later, the sunset will be gone. Forehead. I don't think the teacher was late, but wanted to test our patience. He chose us after seeing that we passed the test. At this moment, Namikaze Minato spoke cautiously. Well? Li Yue was taken aback. Test them? No. The reason why he came so late was because he dealt with family affairs too late yesterday, so he didn't get up today. What kind of test is it? He doesn't have such a free time. But he would not admit to such a thing, so he coughed. You think I'm late on purpose? Cassina and Hitaki Yuki were taken aback, seeing Li Yue's serious and earnest expression, they couldn't help being surprised. Is this really the teacher's test? Fool! Li Yue scolded, and glanced over the three of them. Do you think you're a genin after passing the graduation examination? Big mistake. If you want to become a unique ninja, you must have various excellent qualities, and patience is one of them. If you don't even have this quality, you will only be impulsive and add misfortune to the mission when you perform the mission. If it is on the battlefield, you may even lose your life. After saying this, Namikaze Minato's eyes lit up. He guessed right. The teacher really wasn't late, but was testing them. This is the first lesson the teacher gave them. This lesson is called patience. Only by passing the test can one be qualified to become the teacher's disciple. Teacher Guangxi is right. Teacher Li Yue is indeed an excellent mentor. It only took a small test to let me know what qualities a ninja should possess. Single quote. Namikaze Minato secretly thought. Junyi's face was full of joy. There are such excellent and responsible teachers. How lucky he is. Really? Cassina looked surprised. For some reason, she always felt that something was wrong. Tilda. Of course it's true. Do you think I'd be so boring to lie to you about this? Li Yue coughed. Kaido was not blushing and not panting. Cassina and Hitaki Yuki looked at each other, not knowing whether to believe it or not. Okay, it's getting late, and I won't say much. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, gather at training ground number 3. As for now, disband and go home. Li Yue glanced at the three of them, then left in an instant. Well? Looking at the empty front, Cassina was dumbfounded. Gone? Is this gone? They waited from morning to noon, and from noon to afternoon, for a full 10 hours. But what about Li Yue? Said a few words and left. Cassina, who almost didn't come up in one breath, was almost going crazy, and her red hair was flying even more. Teacher Li Yue, it's too much. Episode 25, Class 7. Early the next morning. The sun shines on the leaves. In a house located in a corner of the village, Cassina, who has just graduated, is well dressed and looks full of energy. Although I feel that Li Yue was late on purpose yesterday. But it doesn't matter, she is not the kind of person who cares about everything. Looking at the dress in the mirror, he nodded in satisfaction, and then shouted at the mansion where he was alone. I am leaving. After speaking, he jumped up and rushed towards the number 3 training ground. 10 minutes later, we arrived at our destination. Discovered that Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki had already arrived. Among them, Hitaki Yuki is practicing sword skills, while Minato is practicing kunai throwing. Seeing Kusina appear, the two stopped and greeted each other. "Morning, Kusina." "Morning." Kusina nodded, and asked curiously at the same time, "Is teacher Lee Yue here yet?" "No." Minato shook his head. "Oh tilde." Kusina was a little disappointed, then followed Minato's example, found a target, and started training. After all, Namikaze Minato is so serious. She didn't want to lose to this companion who didn't have any masculinity. Kusina really worked hard. Single quote. Minato on the side didn't know what Kusina was thinking. Seeing that Kusina was also training hard, he liked the girl even more. The time passed bit by bit during the training, and it soon came to 10 o'clock. Kukina, who was a little sore, stopped her movements, turned her head and took a look, and found that her teacher hadn't arrived yet. "I knew teacher Lee Yue would never be punctual, but I still believed in him, so I came early." Kusina puffed up. Minato on the side smiled helplessly, but he was not in a hurry, but continued to train. "Let's wait a little longer." Hitaki Yuki stopped and waved his knife to comfort him. Kusina was a little discouraged seeing her companion's indifferent appearance, and then she was no longer in the mood to train, so she sat down at a random place and wanted to see when Lee Yue would arrive. Another 10 minutes passed. A sound of footsteps sounded from a distance, and Lee Yue's figure slowly appeared. "I'm so sorry, I was a few minutes late by accident." Lee Yue greeted with a smile. "How many minutes late?" Kusina almost didn't come up in one breath. "Not only was my teacher late, but he didn't even bother to find a reason." "The point is that a few minutes? That's 2 hours, okay?" Teacher Lee Yue. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki were not as angry as Kukina. They hurriedly stopped what they were doing, and came to Lee Yue to say hello. Lee Yue nodded, and then cut straight to the point without further ado. "Today is the first day of the formation of the team, in order for everyone to get to know each other, so let's introduce ourselves. Kukina, let's start with you." "Self-introduction? Teacher, shouldn't you start this kind of thing?" An angry Kusina couldn't help but said. "I'll introduce you if I ask you to introduce it. How can there be so many words?" Lee Yue flicked on Kusina's forehead. "What the hell?" Kusina covered her forehead and muttered, but didn't dare to say anything more, and started to introduce herself. "My name is Kusina, Konoha Genin. I'm good at sealing. My favorite thing is salty ramen. I hate bitter food and tomatoes. My dream is to become Hokage." "Very good ideal." Lee Yue nodded and looked at the other two. "My name is Namikaze Minato. I am good at throwing kunai. I like to practice. I have nothing particularly annoying. My dream is to become the Hokage that everyone recognizes like Kusina." Minato smiled gently, and when talking about dreams, there was a flash of hope in his eyes. "My name is Hitaki Yuki. I am good at swordsmanship. My dream is to become an independent ninja and not let my father down." Hitaki Yuki opened his mouth naively. After speaking, the three of them looked at Lee Yue again. "They don't know much about their teachers. I only know that the teacher is very strong, and he defeated Orochimaru, one of the Sannin, a few days ago. As for others, I don't know. My name is Uchiha Lee Yue, Jonin, you can call me teacher Lee Yue from now on. I don't want to tell you what I like, I don't want to mention what I hate, I don't bother to talk about dreams, and you will know what you are good at in the future." Lee Yue said with a smile. Is this gone?" Kusina stared blankly at Lee Yue, wondering if she heard it wrong. "Gone." Lee Yue nodded solemnly. The corners of the mouths of the three tugged, and after listening to their feelings for a long time, they knew that their teacher's surname was Uchiha and his name was Lee Yue. "Okay, that's the end of the self-introduction, now let's start today's topic." Lee Yue said. "Teacher, are you going to teach us training?" Namikaze Minato's eyes lit up when he heard this. "Or teach us powerful ninjutsu?" Kusina also looked forward to it. Although Lee Yue is a little different from what I imagined. But she, who has seen Lee Yue's attack with her own eyes, knows that Lee Yue is a very powerful ninja. The ninjutsu transmitted from Lee Yue must be very strong. "Oh, then what ninjutsu do you want to learn?" Lee Yue looked at the three of them with a half smile. "Of course, the more powerful the better." Kusina shook her fist and looked at Lee Yue with small eyes, her face full of expectation. "The more powerful the better?" Lee Yue touched his chin, and then pulled out the sunwheel saber at his waist. "Then, how about this move?" As soon as the words fell, the flames emerged. Ultimate's high temperature poured out from the blade, and the air around it was twisted. The three of them were startled, and when they were about to ask what kind of ninjutsu it was, they saw Lee Yue swinging his long sword. "This move is from Breath of Flame. Flame Tiger." Lee Yue's voice sounded. "Yan who belongs to Demon Slayer. blade of Purgatory Kyojuro's unique skill. When he slashes with a single knife, he can swing a huge slash like a burning tiger. He didn't know how powerful Purgatory Kyojuro's power was, he only knew that the power of Breath of Fire was the same as other ninjutsu, linked to chakra. The greater the chakra output, the more terrifying the Breath of Fire. Therefore, the Yanhu he used is more terrifying and powerful than the Yanhu of Purgatory Xingzhaolang. Flame Tiger? The three of them murmured to themselves, nervousness appeared on their faces. They knew that there must be a backup for this move, otherwise their teacher would never have made such a gesture. Looking good, Li Yue whispered. The three of them opened their eyes wide. Then you see. Episode 25, shocking the whole village. Boom! Loud roar. Blazing light erupted from the forest, and the flames expanded rapidly, devouring everything, and then rushed straight into the sky, igniting the sky. Namikaze Minato, Kusina, and Hitaki Yuki all opened their eyes wide in an instant. Looking at the flames rushing straight up, the pupils couldn't help shrinking, his small face turned pale with fright, and he stepped back again and again. Soaring flames. Really? Is this really the ninjutsu that ninjas can do? And that ultimate heat? Even if they are far apart, they can still feel the horror. If someone is hit by the flames, I am afraid that they will not even have time to resist, and they will be burned into coke by the flames. Is this the teacher's strength? Kusina's face was pale, and she stepped back a few steps stiffly, fearing that the flames would affect her. As a nine-tails Jinchuriki, she thought that her heart was big enough, and she would not be surprised even if she saw the most powerful ninjutsu. And she had seen Li Yue make a move before, and knew that Li Yue was very strong, so she was prepared. But even so, still frightened by the sight in front of me, looking at the soaring flames, there was only one thought left in his brain. That is my teacher a little too strong? What a terrible ninjutsu. The same is true for Namikaze Minato on the side, with a look of horror on his face. This is not a dream. It wasn't an illusion performed by Li Yue either, but real existence. Just by waving a hand, a blazing flame was born, and then shot straight into the sky. This power, this strength. Make him tremble. Just one blow gave him the idea that he would never be able to surpass and defeat. Boom! At this time, there was another loud noise. The flames spread completely, destroying everything around, and the smoke shot straight into the sky, covering the entire training ground. A few minutes later, the wind blows slowly. The red flames slowly extinguished, and the dust in the sky gradually dissipated. But Namikaze Minato, Kusina and Hitaki Yuki were still pale. Although the flames had been extinguished and the heat from Ultimate was no longer coming, they were still so frightened that their bodies froze and could not move. The power of this move is pretty good, right? Li Yue asked with a smile. Kusina regained his composure, nodded like a chicken pecking rice, and looked at Li Yue with more awe. Li Yue has completely conquered her with this move. Teacher Li Yue is really too strong. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki looked at each other, their eyes were a little fiery. The power of this trick is not just good. It's just scary. Not to mention the usual, even in dreams, they have never dreamed of such a terrifying ninjutsu. Konoha Village. The villagers are still doing their own things as usual. But at this moment, a roar sounded, startling everyone, so that they raised their heads and looked in the direction of the sound. In the direction of the training ground, a group of crimson flames shot up into the sky, raging like a natural disaster, which made people feel terrified. What is this? Is there an enemy attacking the village? No way, Konoha has Lord Third Generation in charge, who dares to come here to die? If not, then what's going on with the situation in front of you? The flame didn't come out by itself, did it? The villagers looked at the sky in horror, their bodies trembling. Flame? Tsunade, who was about to go to Konoha Hospital, was also startled, looked up, and frowned. Master Tsunade, is there something wrong? The female ninja accompanying her couldn't help asking. An accident? Tsunade frowned, and after thinking for a while, he looked at the female ninja next to him. You go to the hospital first, I'll go and have a look. After speaking, he ran towards the direction of the flames. The sudden appearance of flames startled the entire Konoha. Even Third Hokage stood at the window, staring at the flames, frowning. A fire style of this scale can only be used by Li Yue. And I remember Kusina was on the training ground. Kusina is at the training ground, and Li Yue has used this scale of fire style again. Could it be that something happened to Nine Tails Jinchuriki? The more Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong, so he shouted, Suzaku, take the first Anbu team and follow me to the training ground. After speaking, he jumped up and jumped out of the window. Master Hokage. A figure with an animal mask appeared in the dark. After seeing the Third Hokage going away, he hurriedly shouted, and soon an Anbu team appeared, and then quickly followed. When Tsunade and Sarutobi Hiruzen act. The ninjas in the village who had no missions rushed to the training ground one after another, wondering what happened there and whether there was really an enemy invasion. Everyone, speed up. With such a large-scale ninjutsu, there must be a battle. It's definitely an enemy ninja invasion. Damn it, you dare to come to our Konoha to make trouble. You really don't know how to live or die. Master Third Hokage is here too. Great, with Lord Third Generation in charge, no one can leave Konoha safely. There was a burst of shouting, and in a blink of an eye, ninjas in vests appeared from all directions. These ninjas all had angry expressions on their faces, and within a short while, they surrounded the number 3 training ground and saw Li Yue and the others at the same time. It's Master Li Yue. Lord Li Yue, don't panic, we are here to help. Lord Li Yue, where is the enemy? The damn enemy dares to invade our Konoha Gakure, we must not let him escape. After Konoha Shinobi saw Li Yue, you shouted at each other. Huh? Support? Enemy? Li Yue looked at the crowd suspiciously, not knowing how these people appeared, so she couldn't help but ask. Be quiet, what are you doing here? Well? Hearing this, Konoha Shinobi was dumbfounded. Because judging from Li Yue's expression and tone, it doesn't look like an enemy is attacking the village. Could it be, they got it wrong? Episode 26, The Adoration of Minato. Li Yue, what happened just now? Sarutobi Hiruzen walked out from the crowd with a serious expression on his face. Master Third Generation, you mean Yanhu? Li Yue frowned. Flame Tiger? It's the name of that flame. No matter what it's called, what happened, how can you perform ninjutsu of this scale? Sarutobi Hiruzen said in a deep voice. Oh tilde. Li Yue suddenly realized, and then chuckled. It's nothing, I'm just showing off for my student. After these words fell, the surroundings instantly fell silent. The Konoha Shinobi players present all stared wide-eyed, showing ghost-like expressions, as if they couldn't believe what they heard. Xiaolu for the student? Are you sure this isn't a joke? And this is Xiaolu's hand. The flames rushed to the sky, and the whole Konoha could be seen. They thought there was an enemy attacking the village. If one day a meteorite hits Konoha and smashes Konoha to pieces, can that also be explained as Xiaolu's hand? Li Yue, you are really... Tsunade clutched his forehead, not knowing what to say. Do you need this level to be an instructor now? One of the Jonin said rather bitterly. After listening to Li Yue's explanation, he felt he was hit. Thinking of being an instructor, do you have to show your hands in front of the students? If you can't meet the standard of Xiaolu Yishao, are you unfit to be a teacher? Everyone fell silent. Before she knew it, Li Yue abruptly raised the level of her instructor by a few notches. And they doesn't seem to pass? Thinking of this, all the guides Jonin wanted to cry but had no tears. This, Xiaolu Yishao, is too bullying. Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent for a moment, feeling inexplicably heavy. Because the strength displayed by Li Yue seems to be far from that simple, this kind of powerful strength makes him fearful. But soon he suppressed his fear, took a deep look at Li Yue, and said in a deep voice. Although it is a good thing to demonstrate ninjutsu to students, it is better to do so less in the future. Yes. All the ninjas nodded in agreement. They have been busy with their feelings for a long time, and it is not an enemy attack at all, but what Li Yue called, Xiaolu Yishao. But this kind of, little Jew, should not appear again. Otherwise, you will have a heart attack. No, no more. Li Yue waved her hand indifferently. Okay, everyone returns to their posts and don't gather here anymore. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand. Yes, many ninjas responded, and then left in amazement. Although this matter is an oolong. But they were still shocked. After all, Li Yue's blow was quite powerful. Coupled with Li Yue's defeat of Orochimaru before, people's evaluation of Li Yue has risen to another level. After everyone leaves, Cassina, who had been holding back all this time, finally couldn't help it anymore. Her delicate face was full of excitement. Teacher Li Yue, are you going to teach us this trick? The eyes of Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki on the side lit up, looking at Li Yue with full expectation. Teach you? Li Yue grinned, and tapped the heads of the three of them without hesitation. Stop daydreaming there. 10,000 zhang tall buildings rise from the ground. Any kind of powerful ninjutsu is accumulated from a solid foundation. Do you think you have enough foundation to learn this kind of ninjutsu? These words sounded in the ears of the three of them like an alarm bell, making him tremble. The longing in Namikaze Minato's eyes slowly disappeared, returning to the former peace. Yes, they're just genin. Even chakra can't use it at will, let alone learn this ninjutsu. If you want to master this kind of ninjutsu, you must lay a good foundation. Only by mastering a solid foundation can you learn stronger ninjutsu. Otherwise, everything is a castle in the air. I use this trick just to let you know how strong the strong are. People, only when you understand your own weakness can you work hard towards becoming stronger. Do you understand? Li Yue spoke seriously. He would never admit that he only used Yanhu for the purpose of filling the cup. Understood. Kaido by all three in unison. Among them, Namikaze Minato showed admiration. This was the first time he felt admiration for a person. Because Li Yue is not only powerful and very responsible to teach him these great principles. He didn't hesitate to elicit this kind of movement, so that he was complained by his companions. And how lucky they are. Only then can there be such a dedicated teacher to teach. So Namikaze Minato decided, we must not let down Li Yue's painstaking efforts, and must lay a good foundation in the future, so as not to lose face as a teacher. Okay, the matter just now has been delayed for some time, let's continue with today's theme. Li Yue said, today's theme? The three recovered from the shock and admiration, and curiosity flashed in their eyes. That's right, since you have become my students, I also need to know your specific strength. So there's a proficiency test next. Li Yue said lightly. In fact, each student is not considered a real genin after graduation, and must pass the assessment of guiding jonin in order to stabilize the forehead protector on his head. If you don't pass, you can only roll back to school. Certainly. He didn't have the patience to do any assessments. Just want to do a simple test. After all, how to teach in the future needs to start from the actual situation of the three of them. As he spoke, he took out a kunai from the ninja bag, and drew a circle under his feet. From now on, I will stand in this circle, and your task is to force me out of the circle as much as possible. During the test, you'd better not hide your strength. Because the result of this test is related to your future training direction, it is best to show the determination to kill me and complete this battle. Episode 27, Minato and Kasina's strength. Is the school testing our strength? The three looked at each other, and then quickly dispersed. Then, in a few jumps, he entered the unburned forest on the right, hiding his body through tree trunks and green leaves, looking for opportunities. After Li Yue's, Xiaolu Yashao, just now. They knew the strength of their teacher, and if it was a head-on confrontation, they would definitely not be able to succeed. So want to get the test done. The only way is to wait for the opportunity to act. Only then is there a glimmer of hope. It's not bad, I didn't rush forward recklessly, but the way of hiding is too immature. Li Yue glanced casually and found the hiding place of the three. But he didn't point it out, but quietly waited for the attack of the three. Among the forest, hiding behind the trunk, Namikaze Minato, Kasina and Hitaki Yuki all thought about how to force Li Yue out of the circle. We have also seen the strength of teacher Li Yue. It is impossible to succeed if you rely on only one person, so let's cooperate? Namikaze Minato looked at the two of them and whispered. Although he felt that Minato was unreliable, Kasina also knew that now was not the time to fight alone, so he nodded. I listen to you. Hitaki Yuki, who had no idea, agreed without thinking. Then let's discuss tactics first, and then take action. Namikaze Minato jumped over and the three gathered together. 3 minutes later, the figures of the three flashed and rushed out of the woods at the same time. But they didn't do anything immediately, but stood on the same line and walked around Li Yue. What tactics will you use? Li Yue showed a little interest. Do it. Namikaze Minato, who walked for a while, drank in a low voice, quickly pulled out 2 kunai with detonating charms hanging on them, and then threw them out with all his might. Ku Wu was nailed to Li Yue's feet in an instant. As the spark burned, the detonator exploded violently, billowing smoke and dust rose, blocking the sight of both parties. It's now, Kasina yelled, throwing out several kunai quickly. At the same time, the figure of Hitaki Yuki flashed and stopped in front of Namikaze Minato, as if he would launch an attack whenever he had the opportunity. Stab it! Blazing light flashed across. The thick smoke and flames that enveloped Li Yue were split in half by Li Yue. But at this time, the kunai thrown by Kasina has rushed. Little tricks. Li Yue didn't even use the kunai to resist, but the moment the kunai stabbed, his fingers caught the ring at the end of the kunai. With a flick of his fingertips, he took kunai into his palm. Kasina was taken aback. But he didn't give up, and quickly ran around the number 3 training ground, throwing kunai from different angles, as if he wanted to use this method to force Li Yue out of the circle. Call out, call out, call out. Ku Wu flew towards him, and the angle was extremely tricky. But this kind of attack was ineffective at all. Li Yue just waved his arm and knocked kunai into the air. But, just when Li Yue knocked these bitter things away, there is a kunai that appears out of thin air. As if traveling through space, she suddenly landed in front of Li Yue, and she was about to succeed. Good, Li Yue praised. He knew how this kunai came from. It is nothing more than hiding dukkha under other dukkha. After he knocked away the covered kunai, the hidden kunai was revealed, so that it gave people the illusion of appearing out of thin air. It took so much thought, it shouldn't be just to throw a kunai, right? Li Yue secretly smiled. Good chance. At this time, a loud shout sounded. The kunai in front of him suddenly turned into a cloud of smoke, and Namikaze Minato also rushed out of the smoke. At the same time, Minato, who had not made a move in the distance, also disappeared like a light and shadow. This is the use of clone technique and transformation technique. Nice tactic. Li Yue nodded. The tactics of the three are very simple, and the techniques involved a kunai throwing method and three-body technique. But this simple tactic is full of sparkle. The three of them first used the detonating talisman to block the sight of both sides through the smoke generated by the explosion. Then use clone technique and transformation technique. That's right. Namikaze Minato first used the clone technique to leave afterimages to attract Li Yue's attention and create the illusion that he was still in place. Then used the transformation technique to become a kunai. The next thing is that Kasina ran around, and at the same time let Hitaki Yuki stop in front of him to feign an attack. The purpose was to attract Li Yue's attention and prevent Li Yue from discovering that Minato was transformed by clone technique. Kasina threw the shuriken again and again, which seemed to be harassment. But it was actually to lower Li Yue's vigilance. After everything was ready, Kasina finally started. She hides the kunai transformed by Minato under several kunai, hoping to get Minato close to Li Yue through this method, and then push Li Yue out of the circle in one fell swoop. This tactic is simple, but perfect. If it is another jonin, there is a high probability that they will be recruited. But unfortunately, Li Yue is an extrasensory ninja with a sage body, so the movements are watched by him from beginning to end. So, you guys are too young. With a light grab, Li Yue directly grabbed Namikaze Minato's collar and lifted it up. What? Namikaze Minato was taken aback. When he reacted, he found that he had been caught. Now he is confused? Completely dumbfounded. Junyi's face opened wide, as if he could stuff an egg, and a look of disbelief flashed in his eyes. He couldn't figure out how his tactics were exposed. Everyone clearly cooperated so perfectly. Not a single loophole. But why didn't it work? Episode 28, The Incredible Kasina. Could it be that the teacher has seen through our tactics? An idea popped into Minato's mind. The thought startled him so much that he turned pale. If so, then this teacher himself is too scary. Are you surprised? Li Yue sneered. These words woke Namikaze Minato up, looking up, just in time to see Li Yue's playful eyes. This look made him shudder. A bad premonition came straight to my heart. Without giving Minato time to think deeply, Li Yue has already thrown out his arm and sent it flying. Boom! The thin body hit the tree heavily. The violent impact made Minato tremble, and the pain spread all over his body, making him unable to stand up for a while. We failed? Kasina stood there dumbfounded. I don't understand why this perfect plan was seen through. As expected of teacher Li Yue, our tactics don't work at all. Namikaze Minato took a deep breath, endured the pain and stood up. Water, Minato, now, what to do now? Hitaki asked in bewilderment. No way, we can only attack head-on. Namikaze Minato took out a kunai from the ninja bag, his face was serious. Although the tactic just now didn't make my teacher suffer, it was enough to attract the teacher's attention, and it was impossible to repeat the old trick. If they still want to fight, the only way is head-to-head confrontation. Come on, don't show mercy, attack me with the determination to kill me. Li Yue's sharp eyes scanned the three of them. Do it. Namikaze Minato and his two companions exchanged glances, then rushed forward without hesitation. A new round of attack was launched. Pity. The strength of the two sides differs too much. No matter what methods the three of them use, they can't force Li Yue to leave the circle for half a step. In the duel, Li Yue also got to know the level of the three of them. Let me talk about Namikaze Minato first. Grandmaster Kunai throwing method, three-body technique, and the sea-level wind-style ninjutsu that I don't know where to learn. Coupled with a clear mind and a keen sense of combat, his strength is already close to that of Chunin. Let's talk about Kasina. Although Kasina is inferior to Minato in several aspects, but she also has her own advantages. That is, chakra is huge, has keen perception, and amazing resilience, and its strength is not inferior to Namikaze Minato. As for Hitaki Yuki, although the Grandmaster's family-inherited swordsmanship is not as strong as Minato and Kasina, it can still be called excellent. Thinking of this, Li Yue turned sideways and instantly kicked Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki flying. At the same time, with a hook of the finger, he pressed Kuwuna on the palm and stabbed forward. Kasina, who was rushing forward, was startled and stopped abruptly. After feeling the tingle in his throat, he was so frightened that he was dripping with cold sweat. If she hadn't reacted quickly and rushed forward a few centimeters, she might have turned into a corpse. Let's end this battle, Li Yue's voice sounded. But this voice did not come from Li Yue's mouth, but from the forest. What? The three of them were startled and turned their heads to look. I saw another Li Yue sitting leisurely on a tree, looking down at them. Teacher Li Yue? Namikaze Minato's face was full of astonishment, and then he looked at Li Yue in the circle. Then, this is... Of course it's a clone, but it's not a clone technique, but a shadow clone. Li Yue laughed. At the same time, the avatars in the circle also turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. So we've been fighting the teacher's clone? Cassina was a little discouraged. Not only did Li Yue beat him hard just now, and what defeated them was not the main body, but a clone. This is too shocking. You really deserve to be Teacher Li Yue. Namikaze Minato smiled wryly. I thought I understood the strength of the teacher. But I never expected that I was only on the first floor, but the teacher was standing in the atmosphere. This gap is really too big. Yeah, Teacher Li Yue is too strong, we are no match at all. Hitaki Yuki nodded approvingly. Okay, this test is over, and your performance is good, so I announce that the 7th class is officially established. Li Yue said with a smile. Very good. The three of them looked at each other with joy in their eyes. Since the 7th class has been established, in order to celebrate the formation of the team, please treat me to a meal with the teacher. Li Yue looked at the time and said with a smile. A dinner treat? Really? Long live the teacher. Cassina cheered, but as soon as she finished speaking, she felt something was wrong, and then looked at Li Yue with a look of whether she had heard it wrong. Old teacher, do you mean to ask us to treat you to dinner, not you to treat us to dinner? Of course, isn't it normal to invite your teacher to dinner? Li Yue is smiling Kaido. But teacher, we just became genin? Cassina looked at Li Yue in disbelief. She never dreamed that her teacher would be so shameless. The three of them just graduated. I haven't taken over a single task, and I haven't received a single reward. But Li Yue asked them to treat them. Logically speaking, isn't Li Yue, who is a teacher, a treat? How come it's the other way around in Class 7? Minato on the side looked weird. I always feel that the personality of my teacher is a little different from what I thought. Stop talking. Li Yue gave Cassina a chestnut, and then said with a smile, it's such a happy decision, let's go to the barbecue restaurant together. Cassina covered her forehead with tears in her eyes. Meanwhile, Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Yuki secretly flicked through their wallets. Looking at the few small steel coins left inside, she could only hope that Li Yue would eat less and give him a little way to survive. Episode 29, Proud Cassina. Call. Li Yue walked out of the barbecue restaurant with a satisfied face, followed by the three of Cassina. However, all three of them had expressions of wanting to cry but not tears, and the wallets in their hands were even more empty, not even a single coin left. The taste of this barbecue restaurant is good, I can come again in the future. Li Yue, who was full, gave a compliment. Come again? The three of Cassina trembled together. If they did it a few more times, they wouldn't have to be ninjas anymore, they could go begging directly. Don't worry, I will treat you next time. Li Yue laughed. Really? There was surprise in the eyes of the three of Cassina, and in their minds, they fantasized about how they emptied Li Yue's wallet on the day of Li Yue's treat. Could I still lie to you, teacher? Li Yue snorted, and then looked at the time. It's still early, let's break up for now, meet in the mission hall at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I will take you to a mission. Task? The eyes of the three people lit up. But before they asked what the task was, Li Yue had already left in an instant. The three of them had no choice but to suppress their curiosity in their hearts and wait for the arrival of the afternoon. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The three students in the 7th class gathered together, full of anticipation, preparing to meet their first mission in life. Before you came, I had already picked out the tasks for you, and I believe you will be satisfied. Li Yue spoke up. Teacher, what is the mission? Cassina was a little curious, and then his eyes lit up, full of fantasy. Is it going out of the village to fight other ninjas, or to help the employer escort the treasure? Stop dreaming. Li Yue knocked on Cassina's head and said helplessly, do you think it's a dream? There's no treasure for you to escort. What the hell? Cassina covered her head with tears in her eyes. Come with me now. Li Yue didn't explain too much, and directly led the three of them to the task hall. Take out the task I set before. Understood, Master Li Yue. The ninjas in the lobby immediately took out 3 task sheets and handed them to Li Yue. After Li Yue took it, she waved it in front of the three of Cassina. D-level task, fruit picking? D-level task, building a house? D-level mission, fishing? The three were a little disappointed after seeing it. They thought it would be some high-level mission before, but they didn't expect it to be 3D-level missions. You are still Genin, so don't think about any advanced missions. The location of this mission is by the river on the south side of the village. Start now. Li Yue saw through the little thoughts of the three of them. Yes, Tilda. The three have a limp Kaido. Li Yue ignored the loss of the three and took the three to the mission location. 10 minutes later, we arrived at our destination. Li Yue also pointed to the river ahead and a fruit forest not far away. The employer's task is very simple. It is to help him build a house to look after the fruit forest and pick all the fruits from the fruit forest at the same time. As for fishing, it's from the river. Now assigned tasks, Kasina is fishing, Yuki is building a house, and Minato is picking fruit. If there is no problem, let's start. After saying this, Kasina immediately raised his hand. Teacher, don't you have any tools? Such as boats and fishing nets? No. Li Yue shook his head directly. Not only is there no fishing, but there are no tools for any task. If you want tools, you can make them yourself. The three of them were depressed when they heard this. There are no tools, so when will the task be done? It's pitiful for you three idiots, so I'll teach you a way to shorten the task time. Well? The eyes of the three people lit up. Looking good. As Li Yue spoke, she came to the river, attached chakra to the bottom of her feet, and stepped firmly on the river. This is chakra training, focusing chakra on a certain part of the body, connecting the body to the contact object, so as to achieve balance. As long as you can complete this training, you can easily solve the task. Chakra training? Namikaze Minato's eyes lit up, and he vaguely guessed Li Yue's intention. Although Mr. Li Yue likes to cheat on students, she is very reliable at critical moments. Single quote. Kakunai secretly thought. At the same time, I felt a little guilty, feeling that I shouldn't have scolded Li Yue for being a jerk teacher. Okay, you only have one afternoon, and you must complete the task before the sun goes down. Li Yue waved her hand, then jumped onto a tree and sat down leisurely. The three looked at each other and immediately started the task. Minato came to the orchard. Looking at the fruit trees in front of me, I know that if I want to reduce the damage of the fruits, I must go to the trees to pick them, instead of shaking or knocking the fruits down. This should be the real intention of teacher Li Yue. Single quote. Minato's eyes flashed. If you want to pick the fruit, you have to climb the tree. To climb a tree, one must have a vigorous posture, or be able to attach one's feet to the tree trunk at will. And all this. It's all about chakra training. As long as you can complete chakra's training to the point where you can hang upside down on a tree without falling, then this task can be easily completed. Sure enough, teacher Li Yue is here to train us. A touch of emotion flashed in Namikaze Minato's eyes, and then he clenched his fists, so I must not let the teacher down. As Li Yue said, he took a deep breath, attached chakra to the bottom of his feet, and stepped on the tree trunk carefully. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Although his body was shaking a little, he still hadn't fallen off. Kasina, look at Minato, it's amazing. Not far away, Hitaki Yuki saw this scene and shouted in surprise. Kasina turned her head and saw Minato stepping on the trunk to climb the tree, and a look of surprise flashed in her eyes. But soon turned his head away, snorted arrogantly, "What's so great, I can do this kind of thing." As he spoke, he also followed Li Yue's way, clinging chakra to his feet, and tremblingly walked towards the river. But, just a few steps away, she found a wave of water coming in, and the river surface fluctuated instantly. Chakra under her feet was in a mess, and she fell into the water with a thud, turning into a drowned chicken. Kasina stood up drenched, her face flushed red. Just now she said it was nothing special. But in the blink of an eye, she became a drowned rat. To the proud her, it was a shame to throw her home. Kuskina. The reason I was successful the first time was because the trunk was flat and there was no interference when controlling chakra. The water surface is different. The beating of the water waves will have a huge impact on the delivery of chakra, so I think it is better for you to learn to step on the tree first, and then cycle forward. Minato, who was standing on the tree, couldn't help reminding Kasina when he saw Kasina's distressed appearance. After hearing this, Kasina's face became redder, and anger appeared in his eyes, then stood up with a bang, and shouted at Minato. I don't want it, even if I fail again and again, I will definitely succeed. In her eyes, Minato's words were not a kind reminder at all, but a kind of ridicule. Taunting her with no success. Laugh at her for not being able to complete this most basic training. Kuskina. An apology flashed in Minato's eyes. He understood that Kasina was a very proud girl, and his seemingly well-intentioned reminder was actually a contempt for this girl. This girl is stronger than expected. No need for his reminder at all. Thinking of this, Minato looked away and continued his training. Because he already knows. No matter how difficult the water training is, Kusina will succeed. Episode 30, Nine Tails and Mangekyo Sharingan. Hateful. I don't want to be underestimated by this guy. Kusina gritted her teeth, attached chakra to the soles of her feet, and walked forward step by step. But what Minato said was not wrong. Water treading training is indeed several times more difficult than tree treading training. She only took a few steps before falling into the water again because of the surge of water. Kusina quickly emerged from the water, her delicate little face was full of unyielding, then wiped the water off her face and continued training. Plop, 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 falling into the water again and again, standing up again and again, Kusina has not given up. When she fell into the water for the 15th time, Li Yue's voice finally came. Close your eyes. Li Yue leaned against the tree trunk, glanced at Kukona who was soaked all over, and said lightly, Close your eyes? Kukunai was taken aback, although she didn't know what it meant, she still did it. Seeing this, Li Yue came to Kukina in an instant, raised her arm, and tapped Kukina's forehead lightly. Shua tilde. The screen changed. The original scene by the river instantly turned into a damp and dark space, as if in a sewer, only a glimmer of light at the end. Li Yue stepped on the water and walked towards the light. As it approached the light, what came into view was a huge iron fence, and various runes were densely covered on the iron fence, and the runes were constantly swimming like tadpoles. Boom! Suddenly there was a loud noise, and the iron bars trembled violently. On the other side of the iron fence, there was a giant beast exuding an evil aura, and it was staring at Li Yue with fierce eyes, as if it wanted to swallow Li Yue in one gulp. Nine Tails. Li Yue looked at the giant beast in front of her. There was no fear in her eyes, only a calmness without ripples. That's right. This is the sealed space inside Kusina's body. And the monster in front of him is Nine Tails Kurama, the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts. Boy, how dare you come here? Nine Tails exuded terrifying killing intent all over his body, and then growled, that kind of cold and depressing chakra, you are that kind of ninja. As he spoke, he raised his huge claws and slammed them hard on the iron bar of the seal. The terrifying killing intent surged, and the water on the ground boiled like boiling, continuously splashing water droplets. Hee. Li Yue was not affected by anything, instead she smiled lightly and pressed her palm on the iron bar of the seal. Kusina is my student, if you dare to use chakra to influence her cultivation, I will kill you! Exclamation mark. Quote. Kill me? Nine Tails froze in place, then laughed wildly as if hearing the funniest joke in the world. Arrogant and ignorant brat, do you know, who is this uncle? After these words fell, an even more terrifying killing intent erupted, sweeping like a raging wave. The terrifying crimson chakra gushed out from Nine Tails' body, broke through the iron barrier of the seal, and covered Li Yue's arm, seeming to swallow Li Yue. A dirty and weak beast, dare to covet the eagle in the sky? Li Yue's calm voice sounded. As the words fell, Li Yue's originally pitch-black eyes turned red, and the pattern of a six-pointed star emerged, looking extremely strange. These eyes? These eyes! Seeing Li Yue's eyes, Nine Tails roared angrily. But before it could make a move, it felt as if it had been hit hard on the head. Wherever it came into view, there were monster patterns of six-pointed stars. There was a tingling pain in the brain, making it scream out. Chakra, who had rushed out of the iron fence of the seal, shrank like a tide, and the overwhelming killing intent dissipated instantly, and the entire sealed space returned to calm. At the same time, there is an extra seal on the sealing iron fence. Li Yue's figure also disappeared in the sealed space. After a while, heavy breathing sounded. Inside the dark iron bars, scarlet pupils appeared again, filled with various emotions. There is pain, doubt, and rage, but more of it is fear. Those eyes. It saw those strange eyes again. This makes it can't help but think of the man who enslaved it back then. I remember you. Uchiha Li Yue. Hatred flashed in Nine Tails' eyes, a deep voice sounded, and then the sealed space completely fell silent. Chakra, who originally affected Kusina's training, also disappeared without a trace at this moment. On the river, Kusina, who had her eyes closed tightly, suddenly felt a burning sensation in her abdomen, opened her eyes immediately, and looked at Li Yue suspiciously. This is the triple four-element seal, which can temporarily block the influence of Nine Tails chakra on you, but without the chakra of Nine Tails, your chakra amount will decrease. Li Yue said lightly. That being said, he feels that this is only good for Kusina, not bad. After all, the current Kusina can't grasp the power of Nine Tails at all. Instead of letting Nine Tails affect the training, it is better to completely seal the chakra of Nine Tails. Of course, the most important thing is, there is no shortage of chakra in Kusina. The princess of the Uzumaki family, if she still lacks chakra, she must be laughed to death. Old. Do you know everything, teacher? Kasina's complexion changed, and then she lowered her head, not daring to look at Li Yue, and her mood became extremely depressed. She is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and she understands that this status inherently arouses fear, repulsion, and even loathing in others. So she has been afraid to tell others about it. Know what? Know that you're a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki thing? Li Yue smiled indifferently. Then teacher, you will. Ju Xingya's body trembled, she bit her lip, and wanted to ask Li Yue if she hated her because of this, and even regarded her as a monster. But before he could say this, he was interrupted by Li Yue. The problem has been solved for you, you idiot. Don't try to use this as an excuse to escape from the mission. Hurry up and continue training. If you can't complete the mission before evening, it will be treated as a failure. After speaking, without waiting for Kukina's reply, she returned to the previous tree. Looking at Li Yue's figure, Kasina's eyes turned red, and her heart was even more moved. She is a very sensitive girl. If Li Yue says no, or even comforts her, she will only make it feel like pity. Proud and strong, she doesn't need pity from others, let alone pity from others, she only needs the approval of others. What Li Yue did just happen to give her a feeling of being recognized. The words and tone of the reply are the same as before, completely treating her as Kasina, not Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. This is the best respect for her.